Hey, sports fans, PB&Z Sports Chaos. Speaking of sports chaos, last week was complete chaos. You had the Deshaun Watson ruling come down on Monday, and by Wednesday, the NFL said, we're not taking 6 games, right? And then your new home team, they got a little bit of dog do, right? Stephen Ross got his hand slapped. And basically, that's all it was a hand slap at the end of the day. $1.5 million and 2 draft picks. I know one of them was a number 1 pick. Now they can't get rid of Tua next year because they don't have 2 number 1s. But
yeah,
we'll talk about that as we move on. But whoo!
I agree. I agree with that, though. I mean, it's like, collusion in a way. It's not right to tamper like that. So I think the punishment, was fair. The Desean thing, I have a whole different opinion on. We'll talk about that too, I'm sure.
Yeah. Hey, and by the way, we're going to do 5 minutes of fantasy again this week. Fantasy 101 for you newcomers or first timers of fantasy. We're going to tell you how to play it out. We'll walk through a couple scenarios. PB will give you some expert advice because he does fairly well in real fantasy all the time. By the way, we have to acknowledge 2 absolute legends passed away, Bill Russell and Vin Scully. I mean, when you talk about 2 people at the top of the mountains of what they did, right? You can't get much higher than that at the end of the day. One thing I want to say about Bill Russell, all the accolades, 13 championships, first Black pro coach in any sport in America, Bill Russell. Big civil rights activist. And 21, this one blows my mind, 21-0 in closeout games from college through the pros, meaning winner take all, 21-0. Are you kidding me? I read that stat and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute. That's mind-boggling, isn't it?
It is. It's unfathomable. I mean, it's.
PB, by the way, I posted last week on Twitter, and this thing is starting to see. I'm seeing a lot more about it. I said immediately on Monday morning, no, just like MLB did with number 42, number 60 should be retired by every NBA team. And now I'm seeing more and more big-time scribes say the same thing at this point in time. Do you agree that probably should happen, like Jackie Robinson's number?
Yeah, and a lot of it would be because of what he did off the court, because of his civil rights activist.
Yes.
That he did. That really takes it to that level where. You now are talking about the impact that he had on the entire sport, the entire community. He just did so many great things. I would love if that happened.
Oh God, that would be huge. One story out there is that he was supposedly asked before, he didn't want that to happen. So I don't know. We'll see. Hopefully now he's passed away. Maybe he asked his daughter and she says, go ahead and do it. Right. So we'll see.
He doesn't have a say in the matter anymore.
No. By the way, the other story, the Deshaun Watson fiasco. I mean, can this get any more worse? Really? I mean, PB, your thoughts on the whole fiasco here?
Yeah. So, here's what I think. And I Suzanne Robinson is, I give her credit for kind of dealing with the whole thing, going through it.
She's a retired federal judge.
But right. So here's the thing, though. And I applaud the NFL for appealing the decision.
Oh God, yes.
But a lot of the people were saying, and this could be the NFL shooting themselves in their own foot, and this was Suzanne Robinson's justification for her ruling, because everything was clearly spelled out in there, was that the NFL has set a precedent. She went off of previous offenses and previous penalties associated with those offenses,
which, by the way, is law 101.
Right. But then also at the same time was, used playing the non-violent card, right? And we know that violence doesn't always come in the form of physical violence. Violence can come in the form of other ways, right?
Yep.
So, there's psychological violence, physiological violence, there's, mental violence, there's all kinds of things that can happen, right?
Yes.
And I think that she had an opportunity here to set a new precedence. She had an opportunity to say, I don't give a flying crap what the NFL did before. I'm in charge of this situation now, and here's what I'm deeming appropriate for a penalty. Now, if she had done that, I would have applauded her a little bit more, even if she went to 10 games or something above the 6. 6 almost feels like the minimum, right?
Yeah.
Maybe it's a full season, maybe it's 10, but it's some harsher penalty than what she got. I would have probably been okay with that. But I think when they came in with the 6, right, to think that, I always go back to the Tom Brady example, to think that Tom Brady apparently and allegedly, had someone stick a needle in a ball and deflate it by 1 pound per square inch, and he gets 4 games for that. Right? Come on. I mean, it just doesn't make
everything else I
sense.
see magnified by 3 after that.
I mean, really. I mean, it is just that part of it. So if Suzanne Robinson is talking about precedents that the NFL set, come on. And she had this perfect opportunity. That's the thing. She had an opportunity to set a new precedent and say, you know what? I don't care what the NFL. This came to me. This is what I think, and this is what I do. She used the NFL as a cop-out on this, and that's what bothers me the most.
That's a really good point. That's really good. Hey, the last thing I'll say before we move on this thing, I like what I heard from Louis Riddick. Basically, what he said was this: smoke this fire. If you think that you are innocent, why would you ever cop to giving in money? At the end of the day, because once you say, "Here, take money to be quiet," there's something there at the end of the day. And by the way, I've talked to a couple of my friends in the legal field. Looking at the size of his contract, he ain't giving them $500,000. They're all getting 7 figures, every one of them. That means 21 women are getting 7-figure deals. Come on, you're going to pay 7 figures if you're innocent? To 21 women?
I know.
Oh, man. All right. Hey, we're going to move on to the other big offender, your home team owner, Stephen Ross. Trying to solicit Tom Brady and Sean not Sean McVay.
Sean Payton,
right?
Yeah. I mean, it's tampering. I mean, it's just like I said. It's almost like collusion in a way. It's kind of like it's just not a good model in business to be doing those kind of things, and you're violating rules. And they deserve the punishment. It could have been harsher. I guess it's not too bad for what they ended up with, but.
He's a multi-millionaire, maybe even a billionaire, I think, and he only got fined $1.5 million. I mean, that's like $25 you and I. Holy shit! All right, let's get on. Hey, MLB trade deadline. I know that happened last week, but the one thing I just want to ask you about, that Juan Soto trade, did that blow your mind when you saw what they got?
Yeah, I mean, obviously San Diego's the big winner here in the trade. I mean,
but they got 6 major leaguers for one guy. Yeah. I mean, you're right. San Diego is going to really prosper from him. Hopefully, he plays like he's expected to play. And by the way, Josh Bell is no slouch. He's a starting first baseman now.
Right. And not to mention, they went out and got Josh Hader from Milwaukee, and they went out and got Brandon Drury from, I think, the Diamondbacks he was playing for. I mean, come on, this team made out like bandit. But you know what it is, and I applaud this, is it's all about that division and going up against the Dodgers. The Dodgers spent so much money, and they are clearing in a way right now the team to beat, right? And everyone's looking at the Dodgers-Yankees World Series right now, and San Diego's saying, hey, we can put a stop to that. Their staff isn't bad. Their staff is well. The Dodgers staff is they've been crashing a little bit lately. There's a window there of opportunity. Kershaw just went on the IL.
Right. They got 4 other guys on the IL as well. So
yeah, I mean they could falter in the playoffs, and San Diego could be representing the National League in the World Series this year. I think they made the right moves.
This is ironically like the AFC West with people going out there to try to now keep up with the Kansas City Chiefs, right? Devontae Adams going to the Raiders, right? Kind of the same thing, man. So, all right.
Russell Wilson in Denver, and everyone's trying to keep up with the Chiefs. Exactly.
Speaking of the West, we're going to move on to the NFC West. But one thing I got to add, I was watching the trade deadline show last week on ESPN when they announced Christian Vazquez getting traded. And meanwhile, that was the ESPN game that night. And they're showing Christian Vazquez on the field, literally, as he's getting told, you're traded, and he's taking batting practice. Paul, as long as I've been watching sports, I've never seen a more weirder thing in my life. I mean, WTF? Red Sox ownership, please sell. You got to sell. The time is up. You got to sell. John Henry, sell. Please get out of there. All right, enough is enough. Let's talk a little NFC West. You ready?
Yeah, let's recap last year, and then we'll get into this year, right?
All right, how did we do last year, brother?
All right, so last year we were pretty close on the Rams in San Francisco, Arizona and Seattle not so much. So we both had the Rams going 11-6. Vegas had the under over at 10.5. So PB&Z obviously was saying, hey, bet the over on that 10.5. They ended up going 12-5. So we both predicted to go 11-6. We were off by a game there. They definitely went over. San Francisco, you were very high on them at 12-5. You had them winning the division. And you actually had the Rams finishing third. I had the Rams winning the division. So at least with the Rams, I had predicted them to win the division. They did. They went on.
Okay.
But you had them in third behind San Francisco and Seattle. We'll get to Seattle in a second. But San Francisco, you had at 12-5. I had them at 10-7. Their under over in Vegas was 10. So basically, it was a push. BB nailed that one. They finished 10-7. So that was a spot on one. Arizona, we both were a little bit lower on them. You had them better. You actually had them 9-8. So at least you had them over 500. I had them at 7-10. And the Vegas under over was 8.5. So here's one where you were saying to go over. I had them under. They finished 11-6. So Z had that was more on with that one. And then as far as Seattle goes, sorry to say, you had them at 12-5. I had them at 10-7. Also a 10 under over with Vegas, which would have been, I was recommending don't bet it because I was right with the number. But they finished 7-10.
Russ missed some games, though. Don't forget, Russ missed some games last year.
He did miss some games. So we weren't too bad. We Rams and San Francisco were right on. Arizona, we probably underpredicted them a little bit. And Seattle, we overpredicted them a little bit.
By the way, when we did that prediction, OBJ was not yet on the Rams, and Von Miller had not been traded for yet.
That's true, right? And they only finished one game over what we said. But you had the Niners and Seattle at 12-5 and the Rams 11-6, still making the playoffs.
Yeah.
But as the third place team in the division, I had San Francisco and Seattle at 10-7 and LA at 11-6 winning the division. So
Seattle's the shocker. All right. Well, let's talk about the Rams, defending champion. They have a tough schedule.
They do. And
by the way, they made two good acquisitions in my mind. Wide receiver Allen Robinson and linebacker Bobby Wagner. Now he's got some miles on him, but he's a good leader, and I think that's going to be the difference there.
Yeah, and I agree with you. And I think the Rams, with the strength of schedule, Vegas has them at 10.5 right now on the under over. And I got them right in there. Like I got them between 10 and 11 wins. But believe it or not, I'm leaning on the side of 10-7 because of that strength of schedule. Here's why. They have to, first of all, play a first place schedule. Well, that means they have to play Buffalo, Green Bay, and Dallas as their 3 swing games, right? But here's the thing. After they have a bye in week 7, here's what their weeks 8 through 12 look like. This is a tough stretch. San Francisco, at San Francisco, Tampa, Arizona, at New Orleans, at Kansas City. That little stretch right there is really going to make or break whether they're an 11 or 12 win team or whether they're a 9 or 10 win team.
And by the way, they also have an away game at Green Bay earlier in the year, right?
And right. So I got them at 10-7. I got them finishing second in the division this year, believe it or not. A little bit of a Super Bowl hangover, but still probably good enough to get in the playoffs. 10-7 will be that cusp team. It depends on how your schedule plays out.
So I got them losing one game with San Fran, losing at Tampa Bay, at KC, and Green Bay. So four losses on the road. My toss-ups are the Bills game. It's at home, though. Broncos is at home. Chargers, basically is a home game, right? I mean, I know what they're considered the visitor in that game. The Dallas game, the Vegas game, and Arizona. I think if they sweep the division, they go 14-3. But they're not gonna. I got them going 13-4.
Wow. Well,
I do see. I'm with you though. I think their floor is 10-7. I'm with you on that. I see their floor is 10-7, but I really think they can go 13-4.
All right, and that's what you have. That's what your prediction is: 13-4, huh?
Yes. Yep.
All right. I'm going 10-7.
All right. All right. Let's go San Fran next. A wild card team last year. I don't know. We'll see. But what do you think?
Yeah, I got the win in the division this year. I got them at 11-6, and one of the reasons why is they have the third place schedule. So while the Rams have to play Buffalo, Green Bay, and Dallas, San Francisco draws Miami, Chicago, and Washington. And those 3 games, to me, that's a 3-game difference over the Rams. And in some cases here, I only have them finishing a game better at 11-6. But those 3 games alone, if that was a 3-game flip, I should have them 3 games better than the Rams, but I only have them 1 game better than the Rams because I think they'll struggle through other parts of their schedule.
That's a good point you say that because that's my ceiling. My ceiling is so you got the Rams at what?
I had the Rams at 10-7, and that's your
So my
floor.
ceiling for the 49ers is 14-3.
Wow. Okay. But I got them at 11-6. I think that week 7 to 14 stretch is tough. They got to play right in a row. Here we go. Kansas City at the Rams, Chargers, Arizona, New Orleans, Miami, and Tampa. Now, the benefit that they have is they have 5 in a row not playing in an opponent's stadium.
That's right.
During the middle of the season.
That's
and then
right.
They have 7 of their last 9 games. They don't have to play in an opponent's stadium. 6 of those are home game and 1's on a neutral site. That's a great benefit down the stretch of your schedule. That's why I have them at 11-6, and that's why I have them win the division.
Ooh, I think this is still a pretty good division outside of Seattle. I got them 12-5.
Okay.
I got them 12. They split Denver. They lose Denver. They split with the Rams in Arizona for sure. And then I got toss-ups. KC being there is a toss-up to me. Tampa Bay, Miami, same thing like you said. All toss-up games of that being at the home field. So we'll see.
All right.
All right. How about Arizona? By the way, I got a question about Arizona. Does the whole Kyler Murray contract rip this team apart?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't. But that being said, I still have them doing pretty bad. Because
you do? Oh, okay.
I do.
Right.
I think this team is a little, well, Vegas kind of knows a little bit. They have them at 8.5 for their on the over total one. So they don't even have them,
all right.
They don't even have, they have them right down the middle. 17
Okay.
divided by 2 is 8.5. You can't win 8.5 games. So Vegas says they're going to either win 8 or 9. So they're barely a 500 team. They open first 3 games, Kansas City, at Vegas, and the Rams. They could very well lose all 3 of those games.
All 3, yep.
Right. And then they have a soft middle of their schedule, but check out their final 8 at the Rams, San Francisco at home, Chargers at home, New England at home, at Denver, Tampa Bay at home, and then they have Atlanta, which they should win that, and then at San Francisco. Those final 8 games, I think that if they come out of that with 2 or 3 wins, I think that's just that's a lot. So I have this team finishing, believe it or not, 6-11 this year. So if you want to consider that a disappointment, yes, it is a disappointment, but based on the contract, I don't think that has any impact on the fact that they're going to win 6 games this year.
Wow. See, I see them going 9-8. My floor is 7-10. My floor is 7-10. But you got them 6-11, huh? I think they're going 9-8. But my toss-up games are the Philly game, the Minnesota game, the Chargers game, New England and Chargers are both at home, and going to Denver. Those are the toss-up games right there. And to your point, if they can come out of that a little more favorable than 2, then that's where I get my 9-8.
Okay. All right. That's a 3
All right,
game
let's
difference.
go to Seattle, man.
Yeah.
Seattle, man.
But we're 3 games off on the Rams. We're 3
Yeah.
games off on Arizona. We're only 1 game off on Frisco, but usually we're not that far apart.
No, I think the Rams are, other than I'm concerned that Matthew Stafford has got an injury that's not getting better at this point in time, right?
Yeah.
But I mean, Allen Robinson is a huge uplift on that team next to Cooper Kupp and the tight end. I forget his name. He's not a bad receiver either. And I think, and then Cam Akers out of the backfield as a swing back wide receiver, James White type. Oh my God,
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. All right. So Seattle.
That's gonna be good.
Seattle.
Go ahead, Seattle.
So Seattle's got the only thing they got going, because this team could be in the running with, Atlanta and Chicago for the worst team in the NFC. That's how I look at this team right now. And I know they got some talented receivers in DK Metcalf and Tyler Lockett, but they have Bozo throwing them the ball. So, and this team, the only reason why I have them winning 5 games is because they do have a last place schedule. They finished last year at 7-10.
Right.
And now because of that, they get to play the Jets, the Giants, and Detroit as their 3 swing games, right? Outside of the matchups that all the other teams have. So that helps their cause. I think out of the Jets, Giants, and Detroit, they might be able to win 1 or 2 of those games. I can't see this team winning more than 5 games. Just case in point, Vegas has the run over 5.5. So this team is a 5-win team this year, folks. If they win 6, you'd win if you bet the over. I'd go on the under because I think 5 is their best. I mean, they may even win 4 or 3 games.
I'll tell you what, I'm picking 5 and 12, but I honestly think if they make a deal and get Jimmy G, they go 7 and 10.
Yeah, he's definitely a 2-game difference type of player. I would agree with that. I would move them up 2 games because of that. But we're spot on. We both think they're a 5 and 12 team. So
yeah. All right. Hey, let's go to Fantasy 101. Fans, you're playing fantasy for the first time. You just put down, I don't know, what's a typical fantasy league investment? 25, 50, 100? I don't know. What is it?
Yeah, somewhere in that range. I mean, little leagues might be 25, 50.
All right. You need to know what you do. You're in what's a typical league? 20 teams, maybe?
No. Typical league's going to have 10 to 12.
All right, 10. All right. So 10 to 12, even better. And you have a snake draft most of the time, right? All the time?
No. If it's a redraft, then yes, which most leagues redraft. What a redraft means basically is that you're drafting, everybody starts from scratch and you're all building new teams, right? As opposed to a dynasty. So that's the first thing is know your league. What kind of league are you in? Are you in a redraft league? Are you in a best ball league? Are you in a dynasty league? There's all different types of leagues, but redraft is the most popular where everybody starts from scratch. They draft their teams. Also be careful if it's a super flex league. Super flex means you can start 2 quarterbacks. Quarterbacks become more valuable if that's the case. But again, most leagues aren't super flex, so you only can start 1 quarterback. So you want to understand, first of all, your roster and what that looks like. How many starters are there and how many people at each position and how many flex positions. That allows you to start thinking about how am I going to fill my roster, right? Understand your point system. There's some leagues where quarterbacks only get 3 points or 4 points for each touchdown pass. There's other leagues where they get 6 points per touchdown pass. That makes a difference in the amount of points a quarterback could potentially get. So you want to understand the point scheme and then just your general rules, like what's the waiver wire look like and all that kind of stuff. You have to pay a transaction fee to acquire a player. There's all kinds of different little rules. So you just want to make sure you understand your rules. And then finally, the number of teams, because you want to understand the number of teams, because if you're drafting last, let's say as an example, and you're 12, you're getting 12 and 13, but then you're not picking again until 36 and 37. Whereas if it's a 10-team league, you're picking 10 and 11, and then you pick again at 31 and 32. So it allows you to start to think about how you're going to fill your roster.
All right, give us an example, PB. If I'm drafting 10th, that means now I have 11 on the snake side back up. Who do you like at 10 and then 11 at that point in time?
Yeah, so 10, you can still get some good value in running backs and receivers here. There's going to be players that are going to drop that people may not want to take a risk on. It could be someone even like the likes of a Derrick Henry as an example, or a Dalvin Cook, a Jamar Chase. These are guys that may end up falling to that 10th spot, and you could grab 2 of them because you get the 10th and 11th picks. You're getting 2 of the top 11 guys.
So let's stay with that. Let's say it's Derrick Henry and Jamar Chase is on the board. Are you grabbing both of them, 10 and 11?
Probably. Yeah, probably. I mean, there's other guys like Joe Mixon would probably still be on the board. DeAndre Swift might still be on the board. Devontae Adams might still be on the board at that point. But those are the kind of players you're looking at, 10, 11. And it's probably a good idea to grab 1 running back and 1 receiver to keep 2 top end type players in each one of those positions. Because in most leagues, you start 2 running backs, 2 receivers, and then either 1 or 2 flexes, right? And you also have your tight end. You got to think about your tight end too. Might be a little early to draft a Kelsey, certainly way too early to draft a Mark Andrews or a Kyle Pitts or anything like that. But, tight ends drop off fast. You can find receivers and running backs in the 5th and 6th round that'll produce for you. Tight ends tend to drop off. So
I'm the guy or the gal. I just drafted 10 and 11. PB just took Derrick Henry and Jamar Chase. Was swinging back down. Now I'm going to be at number.
Well, in a 10-team league, I mean, in a 12-team league, you're 36 and 37, but in a 10-team league, you're coming back at 30 and 31.
All right. So my fans, what are you looking for here, PB? Another running back, receiver, or you starting to think quarterback at this point in time?
Again, it depends on your type of league. If it's a super flex, absolutely a quarterback. Or if your quarterback scoring is high, meaning you're getting 6 points per touchdown, there's bonus opportunities, things like that for your quarterbacks, you may want to take a high-level quarterback here because you could certainly start to now look at Josh Allen might still be on the board. You're going to have Certainly a Justin Herbert would probably be on the board, Joe Burrow, guys like that you could probably grab here if you were in a quarterback heavier type league. But if you're in a standard league where it's four points per touchdown pass for a quarterback, and then the interceptions you got to take into account too. Some leagues are just neg 1, there's neg 2, there's neg 3 sometimes for picks. So
okay,
you want to take that into consideration as well. But that's why I said you got to know your scoring. Some leagues have -1 for sacks on a quarterback, and why would you risk taking a Joe Burrow knowing that you're going to get -1 every time he gets sacked when he could be sacked the most times in the league, right?
But
so
what's the more popular league? Is it negative for sacks, or is it more popular not to have that factor in it?
Standard scoring, you don't lose point. You lose neg 2 for an interception, and you only get 4 points for a touchdown pass.
All right, so a Joe Burrow at this point in time is my third pick.
It's too early. Okay. Yeah, it's too early. I'd go another
skill player,
receiver, and another running back here.
Okay.
Who can you look at? Travis Etienne might be on the board at 30. He's someone you could consider.
I will say this: if Travis Etienne is not there at 30, somebody's high. The guy didn't play last year. Come on.
Yeah,
I know. He plays for a horrible team.
Right. And that's the other thing. Right now, who you gonna get? You could get David Montgomery here as a possibility.
You could get James White, and I think he'll have a better year than Travis Etienne.
Right. And then you have like guys like Saquon Barkley who may fall in some drafts. People might be just afraid to take them.
Ooh, that's not a bad wild card. Good one. Good one to think of, fans. All right.
Yeah. And then at receiver, at this point, you're looking at guys like Michael Pittman is a guy who stands out to me who could be a nice.
With Matty Ice throwing the ball, he may be a big time player this year.
Yeah, he could be around at 30. So, all
right.
You just got to understand kind of your draft. That Kyle Pitts would probably be sitting there at 30. I'm guessing in most leagues. Someone else that you can consider if you want a high profile tight end. I know there's question marks around the whole quarterback situation in Atlanta and who's throwing on the ball and all that, but the guy's still an elite athlete. So.
Well, you got to throw the ball to him first.
Right. But here's the bottom, the moral of the story here with Fantasy 101 is you want to get value at your pick. So there's what's called an ADP. That's average draft position. That's where a play is being, all the mock drafts out there, all the experts, they develop what are called ADPs. And if your running back 1 should be ranked in the 1 to 12 range, right? Once you get to the 13th running back in the league, that's your RB2. That's your second running back on your team, right? So you want to make sure you're getting someone when you pick that's at or below their value, right? You don't want to be drafting people too early just because you like the guy. Oh, I have a thing for whatever, Josh Allen, so I'm going to take him, 20th or something like that. Like that's just not the way to go about it. You got to look at the value that they have at the position they're being drafted. Someone's ADPs 26, 27, and they're sitting there at 30, 31. That's a value pick for you, right? If someone's ADP is 20, 21, and you're taking them at 13, that's not value. So you got to really try to manage that value. That's kind of what the whole thing depends on. Yeah.
All right. So don't rush out and take a quarterback like every NFL team does in the draft. Not the right approach in fantasy, fans. I know, especially you ladies, you want to take the sexy hot quarterback, but no, you can't just take Justin Herbert your first pick. Come on now.
Yeah, or Jimmy G.
Oh, yeah. Well, he wins in the Laundry Football League. All right, hey, good football, good NFL, good draft 101, fantasy NFL 101 drafting. So nice, PB. Thanks for bringing the heat for us tonight. All right, man. We'll talk to you next week.
Yeah, next week we'll do an AFC. I think we're going to do the East, right?
Yes, AFC East. Let's go.
All right.
All right, man. Take care.
All right.